of these dirty lemonades I've had, but I can't have any more. I'm not going to get through this episode of Untucked. Oh, hey! Hi, it's me, Wilma Untucked, and I am fully untucked and a little inebriated, and I hope you are too. So let's get to this week's Untucked episode. Well, the Queens were super thrilled to go back to the Untucked Lounge for a lot of different reasons. First of all, Crystal was thrilled. She clearly was continuing her upward trajectory. The judges seemed to love everything that she did, and she wasn't feeling too premature to think that she could possibly, this week, finally win a main challenge. I'm just saying. Of course, the same can't be said for Jada Essence Hall, I'm just saying. So once the girls were relaxing on the sofa with a cocktail, Sherry Pie asked the room how they were feeling in a voice that said she knew how they were feeling. They were all mad at her for doing an hour-long one-woman show in the middle of all of their 5-minute shows. And I have to say, people that are like, clearly they know what the answer is. Clearly they're a little embarrassed or shy or don't know how to apologize or something. I just find that just very annoying. I don't like people that are like that. You know you were wrong. Now own it. Just say it. And I have to say that Jada Essence Hall was lovely about it. I mean, she didn't say anything too negative. You know, yes, Sherry went long. Yes, it was annoying. Was it awful? No, she was funny. You know, she was at least funny. But, yeah, you could see that it was just another drop in the bucket that became the perfect storm of failure for Jada Essence Hall this week. And I only think that it was hard for her, or harder for her, because of her last 2 back-to-back wins. It's hard to come down off a high like that, I'm just saying. Gigi was another one who was completely deflated. And I can see why, because she really has been setting herself a high goal of winning a challenge as opposed to just doing her best. I think that if she just did her best, she would have more fun, and I think that that would set her apart for these challenges, because right now she's very in her head and she's very worried and she's very clenched. Tends to give people premature wrinkles, I'm just saying. Our Miss Cox felt that Jada was throwing her under the bus with her comment about she didn't choose to go last. It was given to her. And I'm going to stand up for Jada here because Jada didn't say that our Miss Cox forced it on her or gave it to her when she argued that she didn't want it. What she said, what Rue asked was, did you pick to go last? She said, no, I did not. It was assigned me. She didn't say she hated it. At the time, they said, our Miss Cox even said, does anyone have a problem with this? If you have a problem with this, say something now or else that's it. We're done. And I just think that the way Jada ended up going last was a little sketchy. I'm not saying it was completely contrived to be underhanded, but clearly you could see that our Miss Cox, she knew she could have been a little more diplomatic with that, I'm just saying. Crystal was allowing herself to feel just that little bit proud over the chance she took on her stripper character, especially after, while doing her workroom tour, Rue clearly wasn't getting anything that Crystal was trying to tell her about it. I'm so serious. Another proud queen was our Miss Cox, and rightly so. She really took a chance changing her whole act up last minute, and was very thankful for Rue and Whoopie for actually talking her into it. I'm so serious. And that's when the EGOT herself entered the room. Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony, Whoopie Goldberg entered the room. Now, I just have to say, I understand why these queens love her. Now, they're young queens. The fact that Whoopi Goldberg had a one-woman show on Broadway is completely, I'm sure, unknown to most of them, except for maybe the New York queens. But I'll tell you, I knew Whoopi Goldberg had a one-woman show on Broadway. I had the album. When I saw The Color Purple, I could not get enough of Whoopi Goldberg. I didn't know who she was. But all I knew was I needed to know more about her. And then I saw everything she did for that Jumpin' Jack Flash. In fact, I have almost every Whoopi Goldberg movie you can have. I have the one where she plays a businessman on Wall Street, the basketball movie, Clara's Heart. I have them all. And I have to say, if I don't watch a Whoopi Goldberg movie at least once a week, bad things happen. Not to me or other people, just in general. I just feel like everything's better after a Whoopi Goldberg movie. But when I was getting to know who Whoopi Goldberg was at the beginning of her career, right after The Color Purple, she had this album, and it was just Whoopi Goldberg. That's what it was called. It was a picture of her on stage, and it was character monologues, and it really inspired me because I don't perform that way. I do stand-up. I'm a lot more of an improv of the moment comic. I'm lippy, I'm smart, have a comeback. But to write out a whole monologue and then to perform it is just very impressive to me. So I thought that the fact that the Queens were doing a one-woman challenge made Whoopi Goldberg the perfect guest judge for this episode. I'm just saying. So there was Whoopi in the Untucked Lounge. And of course, the Queens went a little crazy. They all needed a hug. They all needed to touch her. And then she sat down and just had a chat with them. I think somebody called her Ms. Goldberg, and she said, when you're named Whoopi, you can't go around being Ms. anything. She was very lovely. Of course, the best thing about having someone like Whoopi Goldberg in the room is the advice that they give you. Because they've seen it all. They've done it all. There isn't anything that can surprise them anymore. And the thing I liked most was Whoopi saying, well, there's always going to be somebody that you think is funnier than you, or better looking than you, or more talented than you. And all you have to ask yourself is that person being good at that going to stop me from being myself? And if you let that person stop you, then they win, and you're not going to ever experience the full beauty that is you. But I just think that sometimes people need to be reminded. I think that in our hearts, none of us really care what other people think. When we get right down to it, we really don't care. But when we're questioning things and feeling at a loss, we let that inner voice, that saboteur, just descend, and it makes for a very awkward and uncomfortable style of living. I am just saying, it exhausts the hell out of me, seriously. And then it was time to return to the runway. It seemed very fast and very quick. And of course, now we know that Crystal was this week's winner, and it was her first win for Crystal, so that was exciting. And we now know that it was our Miss Heidi Aphrodite who had to sashay. And I have to say, I'm so sorry that she did. I really, really am. Heidi's one of those queens that not only did I like out of the gate, like I had picked her to make it to top 5 because I just loved her personality and her energy. But I think what was great was the growth that she did during the show. I mean, she really did improve. She's one of those queens that you could see marked improvement in. And I just have to say, as sad as I'm going to be for her to not be on the show, I'm so excited that we now have Heidi, Aphrodite, whatever you want to call her, in our lives and out there making us laugh. And I have to say, as sad as she was when she walked off that runway, oh, heartbreaking. She was another one. I thought she was going to start wailing, but by the time she got to the workroom, she pulled it together, and I think she could see all the joy that she experienced on the show, because it's so hard to remind yourself about all that joy when all you're feeling is sadness and disappointment. But I think Heidi's got a great personality for finding joy, and I think that's exactly what she's going to do. So there you go. Now we're down to the top 5. Finally down to top 5. And all I can say is, it's going to get tense before we even find out if there's even going to be a finale. They'll probably do something online, I think. Or they'll film it without an audience. Maybe they'll do that. I don't know. Either way, they got 4 weeks to figure it out. So all I can say is until next week, stay untucked as long as you can. In fact, stay indoors if you can. Don't go out there. It's not pretty. It's not good. And seriously, just stay healthy. Keep your hands clean and don't take any wooden nickels because they can give you a sliver, such a thing. Until next week, miss me. Mwah.